You're listening to IndianaSRN.org.
Hello, this is Deb from IndianaSRN, and I'm here to say thank you to our loyal sponsors, schools, coaches, and friends. Your support continues to keep high school athletics on internet radio and webcast. It is our goal to highlight student athletes throughout our great state. We are scheduled to broadcast over 300 games this season, and you can find us broadcasting at high school football stadiums, basketball and volleyball courts, baseball and softball diamonds, next to the wrestling mats, at lacrosse fields, and the soccer pitch. If you would like to know more about how to get your favorite school on radio or webcast, contact us by email at coach@indianasrn.org. Coach has enjoyed his time with you during the Sports Zone show. Thank you again. And if you're enjoying this show or would like to sponsor any of our broadcasts, you can contact us via email at coach@indianasrn.org. Thank you again for listening and watching Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the Indiana SRN sports team, made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
Well, it is Friday, is the last day of the month. Well, pretty close, May 28th, as we're approaching the month of June. July is coming, and if you've talked with everyone else, everybody's looking for that month of July to open up with the Indiana High School Athletic Association. On the phone right now is a guy that's in charge of the IPS athletic departments. He's the district director, and it's Darren Thomas. Darren, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You cannot wait till July 1. I know we're chomping at the bit, getting schedules ready, getting everybody lined up for the new ips.athletics.tv. We're very excited about that program. You have established something, and boy, I tell you what, from top to bottom, the schedules are pretty cool, and of people at IPS is going to be represented very well.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking forward to everything that we have coming up, especially our partnership with you all. And so, we're looking forward to the opportunity to get our kids exposure, to get our programs exposure. And we have a lot of personnel, hardworking people, athletic directors, coaches, and they bust their butts. And this is an opportunity for everyone to get a better look at them. If you may not be able to come out to the games, you may not have been able to support as the way you wanted to in the past. Now is a chance for everyone to get a good look at them, and hopefully it'll garner more support for our programs and ultimately for our student athletes who go out there and put it on the field.
Talk about 4 years ago when you took this position. Did you ever dream that it would be that fast? I know you've had plans and you had stages, but it really snowballed the last 4 to 5, 6 months.
Yeah, certainly. So, when I first came on board, I was actually the assistant district AD. So, my responsibilities varied a little bit. I came in and decided to really focus on the elementary and middle school programming. But I always had a vision for what our athletic programs could be top to bottom, especially at the high school level. That's where a lot of the focus is. That's where the kids really start to grow and develop for their future. But yeah, over the last year or so, we've put a lot of people in place. We've put a lot of policies in place as well that have benefited our student athletes. And so, I've been visiting it taking off for a while now, and it's great to see it actually starting to culminate and starting to come into fruition.
I think a lot of that is a lot of your coaches now, especially the head coaches, are now in the school. It makes a big difference where that coach is in the school other than being a lay coach or being in another district. Now that head coach is in the school, they can talk with their athletes. They can have lunch with their athletes. Actually, they can be almost a family, and that coach, mom, or it could be a mom figure or a dad figure, which is huge for the district.
You touched on it right there. Having your coaches in the building, especially in our schools, there's no way to account for how big of an impact that has. Because, when you have a pulse on the school and you're able to see your student athletes throughout the day, you can really build that mentorship, that trust, and you're able to have an impact on those kids' lives at another level. You know, when I first came into the position, we did have some schools that had policies in place that wouldn't even allow for coaches, particularly head coaches, to be in the building. And so we've managed to change that, and the impact we're seeing already is tremendous. And so, I mean, our coaches do so much for our student athletes, and that's one thing I really want to harp on and make sure everybody understands is that, you know, that's our main selling point. You know, whatever perception there is of IPS, our coaches have always had a passion for our student athletes. They put these kids first in so many aspects of their own lives, and that really translates in it's more than just coaching. It's more than X's and O's. It's more than development. It's really life-changing stuff for our students, and that shows through. And exactly like you said, you know, that's where we really see the big dividends paid. There is when we're looking to develop the whole child, and not just, you know, the athlete part. You know, we don't say athlete, we say student athlete, the student part, but really it goes even beyond that. We're developing people, because, you know, they're only going to have 4 years in that school, but our coaches understand that they're going to have, you know, who knows how many years of life after that, right? So we want to make sure that they're prepared for that. And it's like athletics is one of those things where, yes, students go to class, they do all that, and that's what's, you know, most important there, but somebody's telling them that they have to do that. They have to go to class. They have to go to math. They have to go to these subjects. And so when they come onto the field, they come to practice, that's usually because they want to. You know, they may have a pushy parent, but 9 out of 10 times they want to be there. They want to be engaged. So they open up to our coaches and they have that relationship there. So we appreciate our student athletes, but we definitely appreciate our coaches as well. They do so much for our kids.
Very well said. In 1978, my baseball coach was in the school, and I got in trouble. He was the first one I saw. I didn't go to the dean. I went and saw the head baseball coach. It makes a big difference. So job well done there. Let's talk a little bit about the 4 schools that are in the IPS program. You got Indianapolis Tech, Shortridge, Attucks, Washington. All 4 of those schools have great histories. You look at the athletics program at all 4 of those schools. They have been represented in a state championship in the past, and some early in 2000s. You look at that, the culture is there for these schools, because when they walk into George Washington, the history in that building, Arsenal Tech, Shortridge, and Attucks, it's mind-blowing of the history that are in those 4 schools.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something we try to convey. I mean, we have a lot of people in the community who understand that, but, you know, we have a new generation of students that we're working with. And so when they walk into our schools, we want to make sure they see those banners. We want to make sure they see those names of historic student athletes who have come through those doors, come through those gyms, played on those fields. And when they can really get a sense of that, they feel like they're a part of that history. And now it's time for them to be able to make history of their own. And, you know, that's something that, you know, Attucks has really touched on in the recent years, you know, with their runs in basketball. And we have, you know, success stories all over the district historically. And, you know, we have different teams who excel in different schools right now. And we're building programs across the district, but that history is something that we can't lose touch of. And it really, it helps the culture of our schools that, you know, you're not coming in here brand new. It's not something that's never been done. It's not like, you know, IPS schools have never accomplished anything. You walk in the gym, you see it. You see what has come through those doors. And so those kids then feel like they can do something as well. They're meant to do something historic as well. And so we try to drive that home every chance we get. Drive that point home.
Hey, before we take our break, let's talk about the 5 core values that you guys have. They are very important to you, and they're established to make better men and women for the IPS kids. And I think the 5 core values are very important. Talk a little bit about those things.
Yeah, definitely. And so, you know, we have points of emphasis that we push to our student athletes. And like you said, it's to develop the whole child and turn them into productive young men and women in our communities. And so obviously they're student athletes, right? They're students first and foremost at this point. So what we want to focus on, one point is, of course, academic achievement. There's no way around that. We need our students to make sure that they're focused in the classroom. We do that through a number of ways. Obviously, we want our coaches in the building so that they can work with the teachers and they can stay on top of the grades of our student athletes. And so another piece of that is obviously study tables. You know, if our students fall below a certain GPA, then they are required to do study tables, all of them. And many of our coaches push study tables as a requirement anyway. So we want to make sure we stay on top of that. We push that top to bottom. And, you know, even at the middle school level, we encourage all of our athletic coordinators at that level to emphasize academics. In addition to that, we also have mentorship. So that goes back to the coaching piece we talked about before. All of our coaches play a critical role in the lives of many of our student athletes. And so, you know, we don't know what influences they're getting at home, whether it be parental or, you know, friends. So we want to make sure that we instill that mentorship piece, and not just from coaches to student athletes, but we're also developing programs to allow our high school student athletes to be mentors and to work with elementary and middle school kids in our district. So teaching them to be mentors so that they know what it feels like to help younger kids to develop, so that they see the relationship that they can have with them while they're getting the same kind of impact on their lives from coaches and athletic directors at the high school level. So another piece is integrity. You know, integrity, it should speak for itself, but that goes into so many other areas. Specifically, when you're talking about athletics and sports, you go to sportsmanship, right? And that's something we really want to push. You know, there's always a perception out there, and you always have to overcome that, but you can do that through integrity, right? And to make sure, you know, that you're doing your part to be good citizens on the field, to be good sports, and integrity that goes within your own team, in your own school, so beyond sports, and then also when you're competing. So it carries throughout life, not just with sports, but also after they finish and then maybe they're done playing sports, but they should be able to hold on to that integrity piece, and that'll help them carry through to be good people in general for that well-rounded person that we're trying to develop. In addition to that, we also have community engagement. So that's a big piece for IPS in general, not just IPS athletics, but for IPS athletics specifically. You know, we rely on our communities, right? So we're in the inner city, we're in Indianapolis, and the community really kind of builds up IPS. We rely on them for a number of things, obviously for support. And, you know, there's a lot of people in the community, a lot of organizations in the community that give support to our programs in various ways. So what we want to make sure that we do, you know, you don't always want to have your hand out saying, you know, we could use this, we need that. We want our student athletes to know that they can also support their community while their community is supporting them. So we go out and we make sure that, you know, all of our teams do a community service project. They're engaged in various areas of the community, and it could even be, you know, right in your own backyard, cleaning up things in whatever neighborhood you're located near, cleaning up things on your own campus. The school is a community in and of itself. So there are a lot of different ways you can look at community engagement, but we want to make sure that our teams understand that they need to be engaged in the community, because, you know, that's what makes us whole. There is no IPS without the community around us. And lastly, I think the only one I haven't mentioned is inclusion. And inclusion is kind of an expansion for us. So what we want to make sure that we do is we open up doors for students who wouldn't necessarily be involved in athletics. So there are a number of things we're working on there. One, first and foremost, that we've started is the unified sports, and we're taking full advantage of the ISA unified sports. So this past fall, Crispus Attucks and George Washington both had unified flag football teams, which were the first in our district. That was a fantastic programs we had from both schools.
It was a great program.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we want to make sure we give the opportunity to students who may not envision themselves as student athletes, or who may and just don't have the opportunity to play in sports in the past, or who have not had the opportunity, that they have that. And then this spring, we had all four of our high schools, Attucks, Short Ridge, Washington Tech, offering unified track and field. So unfortunately, obviously the season didn't get to take place, but that was something we're moving towards. And we've had unified track and field teams in the past as well. And this year we're going to have all of our schools fielding, at least offering, but hopefully fielding track and field teams for unified. So that's an inclusion piece. But also we're looking at students who may not want to participate in the same physical sense, but there are so many other aspects of athletics or sports in sports industries that students can participate in that surround the sports programs. So, that could be kind of like what you're doing with broadcast stuff. It could be statistics, analytics, that piece of it, concessions, and journalism. There's so many other things that work within sports that our students could get engaged in and be included in. So we want to make sure we open doors. And, it's going to be a process moving forward. It's not going to all fall in place at once, but inclusion is going to be definitely a value of ours moving forward and a focus of ours as well.
Darren Thomas joins us on the Sports Zone. We're going to take a 30-second commercial break. When we come back, we'll finish up the interview. Darren, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We'll be back in just 30 seconds.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
IndianaSRN, where you're always in the game.
Quickest 30-second timeout we've ever had on the Sports Zone. Thanks very much for joining us. Darren Thomas joins us. And, Darren, we've been running the commercial, It's Coming, IPSathletic.tv for now about 4 to 5 weeks. People are pretty excited about it. Talk to our fans out there that maybe not ever heard of that before and how the coaches are taking a hold of this. But more importantly, the administration and the athletes. I was at the store the other day. A kid was wearing a Tech Titan shirt, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he saw my IndianaSRN shirt, and it's like, "Hey, you guys are going to be broadcasting our games this year," which now everybody's hearing it, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, we're excited. Our athletic directors are excited. Our coaches are excited. And like you said, I mean, our student athletes are excited as well. And so that's going to rain out over the entire community, man. And so obviously our student athletes are excited because they're going to get a chance to have their games live streamed online, and people will be able to tune in and check them out. It could be family members, it could be people they don't even know have a chance to see them, and they can also push it out there online through social. Obviously we're going to do that, but our students can do that as well, and kind of put themselves out there and know that people are watching them. Sometimes we've had situations where, we may not have a big crowd in the stands, could be weather, could be whatever. But people can now watch from anywhere, really. And our students are excited about that. We're excited to put them on that stage, and we're excited that you guys are helping us provide that opportunity for them. And so, it's huge. It really is huge for us because, who knows what people's situations may be, but now it could be grandma, grandpa, or it could be mom, dad, anybody, anywhere. You don't have to be local to watch them at this point anymore. We have people with families all over the country who are going to be able to tune in and watch, Johnny over at Tech or Stacy over at Shortridge, and participate. And it's going to be great for football. It's going to be great for volleyball. And we're looking forward to the winter season with basketball as well. So, we've got a lot of teams who are working hard, a lot of coaches who are working hard to build up great teams as well. And they deserve that opportunity to be seen and to be showcased. And we're looking forward to doing that.
You talk about the parents and all those things. The alumni will be a huge asset to put more interest in their school and being proud. I will tell you the effect of this, Darren, is we've talked to a guy up in Northwest Indiana who has done the helmet challenge. it shocked me that Tech High School's helmet was in that challenge, where before maybe they would never have done that. And talking with other sports writers around Central Indiana, they're pretty excited that IPS is getting their fair shot. I know that Robert Falcons is very excited about that as well. And I think this should have done long ago. We've been involved with the City Alliance Championships for the last 5 to 6 years, which is really good for us. But not only now can they hear the games on internet radio, if they're fortunate and be blessed to see them on web TV, which is the whole entire worldwide. And who knows, this may help a kid get a college education as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you touched on it there. And we're getting support statewide. You mentioned Commissioner Falcons with the ICA offering his support and as well, and we're looking forward to that, working with them, and just putting it out there. And like you said, our kids are going to get exposure, and it could be colleges looking at them to offer them scholarships. And hey, I was watching this game over here. I heard about this kid over at Addicts, and so let's go check him out now. And that could be the first spot that they are able to see them, hear about one of our student athletes, and it's really one of those things where IPS has been overlooked in some aspects in the past, but now, there's going to be more opportunities for our student athletes to get seen and to get that exposure. And that's going to pay off in numerous ways that, I may not even be able to account for right now. And so that's going to be really a blessing to our students, a blessing to our programs. And, everyone's working hard, and we're now putting together products that should be seen. We're putting together teams and programs and developing student athletes who should be seen. And so for you guys to put forward what you guys have put forward for us, we're looking forward to it immensely. So it's going to be a great opportunity. And you mentioned alumni as well. Alumni are huge. They're really, they're a lot of times the backbone of what we do in terms of support that we receive. So, alumni are going to be able to watch and listen to their schools' teams. And really, that's going to encourage them to want to participate more, to want to be engaged more. And we're going to see more and more support coming from the alumni groups as well. So we're looking forward to that.
You look at those 4 schools and the history of those 4 schools, and the alumni of those 4 schools are probably the largest that you have across the board of the Indianapolis Public School. Last question, you've improved facilities as well. In 45 seconds or less, there's other steps to going through that, but the improvements of the facilities are increasing daily, and you deserve, and your staff deserves a attaboy for that, because that's been outstanding.
Yes. Facilities is obviously something we want to focus on. We can do a lot for our students in terms of programming, but we need adequate and safety first, of course, with our facilities. But our student athletes, they go all over the place. They go all over to township schools. They sometimes leave the county and play outside of the county, and they see schools with great facilities, and then they come back to IPS, and they need to feel like they are also receiving adequate, good places to play, participate, locker rooms, the whole 9. And that really plays a part into how they feel about themselves, how they feel about what they deserve. And we want to make sure that we provide that to them, because, they're going to carry that with them forever. These are going to be memories that they keep forever, and it's going to influence their attitude and the culture and school spirit. So, facilities is key. Any athletic director will tell you that. So we have to focus on that as well.
It all begins this fall. Can't wait. IPS.Athletics TV right here on IndianaSRN, powered by IndianaSRN. A great partnership, and I know it will be not only this year but years to come. And Darren, thank you so much for your time. I know we're going to be talking a lot here in the next couple of minutes to get everything together, but thanks so much for your time. I know it's been a tough time for you and your family. We'll be praying for you guys, and if you need anything else, reach out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the time, and happy to talk to you whenever.
We'll take a break. When we come back, much more of the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN.
IndianaSRN, where you are always in the
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Becoming a licensed sports official is a great way to make a positive difference in the community and support the over 160,000 Indiana student athletes that participate across 21 IHSAA sports. Sports officiating allows you to stay connected to the game, become a role model for our young student athletes, earn extra money, and support the patrons and communities of our IHSAA member schools. To learn more about becoming a licensed IHSAA official, log on to ihsaa.org/officials today.
IndianaSRN, where you're always in the game.
Back on the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN. Thank you very much for listening. Brenda Hilton and Tim Hilton joins us, and Brenda is the founder of Officially Human and Behind the Stripes, and starting June 1st, which is this coming Monday, the first show airs, and hopefully Indiana will pick it up, but a lot of other states are on our docket as well. Brenda, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much, Keith, for having me, and pleasure to be here.
I had to get you up early, and I know Tim is still in bed. I'm sure he'll join us second segment because, he likes to sleep in. So let's talk a little bit about, Brenda, the mindset of Behind the Stripes radio show that we have come up with. I think we've figured this out about a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, that this is really necessary to educate not only the officials, coaches, administrators, but also the people that really matter to the game, and that's the kids and the fan base.
Yeah. First of all, we have to give a shout out to Sandra Walter at the Indiana High School Association, because she has brought us together to even come up with this concept, and she introduced us, and appreciate everything she's done for Officially Human over the past 15 months. So shout out to Sandra. But yeah, I think part of the Officially Human mission has always been to bring constituents together. And when I first started, I didn't know what that was going to look like. That picture has become clearer and clearer over time. And the more people I talk to, and sometimes borderline stalk them to get them to listen to what I'm trying to do, has been really helpful. And this radio show, Behind the Stripes, is going to do exactly that. And it was fun putting a list together of all the people that I've come in contact with since January of 2019. And more and more people are starting to reach out to us. So it's very much needed. I think it's going to be a really good program, and I'm very excited.
I talked with a few officials today as they knew what we were going to do, and Mark Maxwell, a good friend of IndianaSRN, has been officiating for 24 years, was a state championship official in basketball, baseball, football, and softball. So he's been around a while. But the athletic associations of officials have really understand what's going on. As Mark runs as a president, a lot of officials now calling me, hey, if you got time, I would love to do this or that and this. So a lot of officials in Indiana is involved with this, but it's just not high school sports that we want to deal with. It's the elementary, the junior high, the Division III college officials. Talk with a couple athletic directors who didn't want to be mentioned by name, but they're very concerned that Division III basketball is losing officials year after year just because of the nature of the game and how fans are treating the game, but more importantly, how we are treating the officials as athletic directors. That mindset has to change a little bit too.
Yeah, I agree. When we first started this, or when I first started this, the goal was to reach to the youth and high school level, and then we found out that the Division III athletic directors kind of commissioners got together and thought, you know what, let's see what we can do. Let's take this out to bid and let's see if we can't get somebody to come up with a strategic plan and do some survey work. So the group that was awarded that job, we've actually worked with and partnered with a little bit in helping them. The problem is so broad and so deep that everybody is kind of just grasping straws, trying to figure out what exactly needs to happen. And we hear a lot about the recruitment and retention of officiating or officials, and we don't talk about the treatment of officials. And that's where the driving force is. You know, there's an aging population. There's a problem that these people that get into it, especially younger people that get into officiating, they get out of it in 3 years. And we have to stop that because there's not going to be any gains. And at least, you know, some areas like our friends here in Chicago, they're like, what are you talking about? There's no shortage of officials because it's very populous here. But you go to places in Iowa or upstate, you know, way north in Wisconsin, they're canceling games. And it's tough to find out exactly how many games are canceled in any given area because nobody really tracks on that. You just hear a lot of people talking about it. Well, that shouldn't be the goal of any of us.
Yeah, great point. And, you know, I looked at some statistics the other day, and 70% of the officials that was interviewed by you guys, the love of the game is still passion. But then they look at 50% of the guys that you interviewed wish the fans would understand rules. And you know, I think that's where fans forget that they're still human. Errors are going to happen. And Tim and I talked about this a couple of months ago. Replay has snuck in, and when you can go super, super slow-mo to see if that guy makes or that girl made the right call, it's not fair to that official because they're looking at it in a split second. You're breaking that down frame by frame, and us doing webcasts, we can break it down to 16 frames a second to see what the call looks like. That's not really fair.
Right. And it's funny, over time and being in the officiating space, I learned a lot about the replay and the trucks, and an official can be standing at a table and they're trying to get a certain view of a play. Well, the truck's not providing that view, or they don't have it, but somebody else has that view. So it's educating people on they don't always have the tools as fast. Well, A, they don't always have the tools, and B, it's never as fast as the official standing at that table wants. And people have to understand the last thing an official wants to do is stand at that table more than 30 seconds. And sometimes when those replays are taking 5 minutes and everybody's, you know, especially in the crowd when you're live, it's a terrible feeling for them. And then we expect those officials to go right back in, you know, and especially at the high collegiate level, they got to go right back into it, but they're distracted by the 5 minutes that they were at the table. So it's just educating people on what is really going on in an officiating role.
Now, see, I look at it this way: if they have 5 minutes to look at it, I got time to go to the concession stand, pick up another popcorn, and sit back in my seat, and I'm not going to miss a thing. So I kind of like that 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know, I know that. The show Behind the Stripes is another title of your book, or Officially Human is the title of what you do, but Behind the Stripes was birthed by you. We have now used that. Pleasurism is very good to us. But talk a little bit about what you want to accomplish overall if this thing lasts a year or 2 years, or is there enough content to make this broad, and is there surrounding states that can adapt to what we're trying to do?
I sure hope so. The goal is to get people to understand from an officiating point of view, what they go through, why they do it. We want to humanize them. We want to respect them. We want to be kind to them. And it is a beast of a job. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have all the answers or anybody else has all the answers. I think the main thing for me is to get constituents to come together to talk about the issues, to educate people, to remind them of who these men and women are, on and off the courts and fields. And if we can do that in 30% of the country, we've done a really, really good job. If we can do it in 50% of the country, I might retire from my day job.
Very good for you. All right. Let's talk a little bit while we have time before our break. Talk about the fan base. What's the fans' responsibility? And you know, when Tim joins us the second half of this conversation, we're going to put him as a fan because he's a huge fan of all kinds of sports. What's their responsibility in this project?
Well, first of all, I think at the youth level, and especially the little guys and gals, is just to remember that this is just a game. These are just kids getting out, learning social skills and learning how to be on a team and learning to respect each other. And if we have parents in the stands that aren't respectful of the officials, what are we teaching our kids? So we have to kind of go back to the basics of, all right, Park District, they were created, Park District teams were created as a social setting for kids, and we have just lost all sight of that, and we need to kind of get back to the basics with that.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have Tim Hilton joins us. As we'll put him on the hot seat because he's the fan, so we're going to put him on the hot seat a little bit. You're good with that, aren't you, Brenda?
Great.
We'll take a break. We'll be back after this 2-minute timeout.
Sports official is a great way to make a positive difference in the community and support the over 160,000 Indiana student athletes that participate across 21 IHSAA sports. Sports officiating allows you to stay connected to the game, become a role model for our young student athletes, earn extra money, and support the patrons and communities of our IHSAA member schools. To learn more about becoming a licensed IHSAA official, log on to ihsaa.org/officials today.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Indiana. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Back on the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. Joining us this morning, Brenda and Tim Hilton. And Tim, I know you're on the hotline now. I know you just woke up from your morning nap, but talk a little bit about the responsibility that you feel that fans have to worry about, and what you do as a fan. I know that we talked before. You're an avid fan. What's your responsibility, and who's watching you as a fan?
Well, so thanks, Keith, for having me on. I appreciate it. And yes, I am up and about now, so it's a great day here in Chicago. I think obviously I've been a fan since I was a kid, and I think back in the day I was definitely the guy yelling at the officiating when it didn't go my way or my perceived way. I think being around Brenda and seeing what she's done in this officiating industry over the years has definitely changed me. And I think what people should focus on is having some sportsmanship. I think Brenda, mentioned earlier about, folks having the responsibility to, understand that their kids are participating in a sport. It's a social setting, et cetera. So I think if that was kept at the forefront as a fan, I think that's important. And then also I think, understanding that officials have a job to do and they're not really choosing one side or another. A lot of times officials don't even know anybody on either, really on either team. They just are there to work the game, and they aren't trying to influence the game. They're trying to just call the game as they see it come to them.
This is for both of you. Have you, either one of you, had put on a striped shirt or or an official uniform to do any type of game, either as a volunteer or as a paid official?
No. No.
I would say no for me as well. I've never had the striped shirt on, but I have, probably back when our kids were younger, probably have done a little of calling some of the games, on the sidelines, but never in an official, formal capacity.
So you've never missed a call, or you've never made a call, which is really tough, because if you look at 95% of the complaints, neither fan has either tried to make the call or has made the call in that setting. And I think that's why, in my opinion, these youth leagues need to have more involvement with parents to say, okay, here's how it is. Here's a game, referee it, and see that side of it. And I think if we really do that, and I think that's everywhere, if you've experienced, you understand how tough it is.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that. And I think as a fan, from the fan perspective, I should take responsibility for knowing what the rules of the game are, and I should have an understanding of those. So if I'm going to complain, I should know that, I should know the rule, and I should have the responsibility of knowing that.
Yeah, Keith, and I also think in light of that, people may think they know the rules or the interpretation of the rules. I think people forget that the people on the courts and the fields have a very different view than we do in the stands, and that also gets lost in the whole problem.
Yeah, that's a real good point. Brenda, this is for you. There are some teachers, PE teachers, in the Indianapolis area that teaches officiating in their gym class, and I know one particular teacher who also gives them the officials tests in basketball during basketball season, because he has a lot of basketball players in his classroom, and he has a lot of managers, team managers. I think that's a really good idea. Your thoughts on maybe making that a mandate for associations maybe to do that, or because it is an extension of the classroom?
I totally agree with that. I think that the challenge that we're still going to continue to have is we may pick up, say you pick up 50% of a class to become officials. Well, we teach them, we train them, we get them their uniforms, and we can't keep them for more than 3 years. So we continue this cycle of getting people into it, but they're going right back out of it. So while that's great, we really have to work on this retention piece.
Yeah, a good point. And Tim, this is one for you, because I know that you are a big fan here. Here's a rule for you, and see how you would make this call. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Player is stepping out of bounds, and before he hits the end line, the ball hits the rim, and then he catches the ball out of bounds. What's the call?
It's out of bounds on the guy who caught the ball. He's out of bounds, so it's the other team's possession. Man, you're great. See, you could wear the stripes, Tim. You could Nice.
You could wear. You know what? I'll send you an extra whistle.
Yeah, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
We're going to take our last break. When we come back, we got a lot more for you. Listening to the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN.
Becoming a licensed sports official is a great way to make a positive difference in the community and support the over 160,000 Indiana student athletes that participate across 21 IHSAA sports. Sports officiating allows you to stay connected to the game, become a role model for our young student athletes, earn extra money, and support the patrons and communities of our IHSAA member schools. To learn more about becoming a licensed IHSAA official, log on to ihsaa.org/officials today.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you're interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@IndianaSRN.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@IndianaSRN.org.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. It is the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. Tim and Brenda Hilton joins us, and we're talking about Behind the Stripes, which airs Monday, June 1st. As this is our last show of Sports Zone as we know it. And guys, you know that we've been doing this now for 10 weeks. We just missed 50 shows. We're right at 49 shows, but it's been a very interesting concept of talking to lots of officials, lots of coaches and administrators. I think everybody wants to make our game better. And I know you guys also. If this reaches all across the state of all across the states, I think we'll find better fans. I think the games will be better, and I think officiating will be much better.
Totally agree. I totally agree. If we can show these men and women some love on and off the courts, I think they would appreciate it, and keep them doing this longer than 3 years.
Yeah, and as a fan, I know that there's a lot to be learned, and I've learned it from Brenda over the years and her work. But, understanding why officials do what they do, why they love doing it, why they would consider leaving, understanding more about how they go about their craft in terms of getting assigned to games and things like that, the travel and some of the other aspects of their job, I think is really interesting. So I think people will enjoy learning that.
We leave the fans with a little bit of a teaser here, Brenda, because I know Monday you are our first guest. You and Tim are coming back as the first guest Behind the Stripes. But where is the female official in this? Less than 10% of female officials stay 2 years. Why is that? Are we allowing women to do that? Because I know very good, strong officials. I worked for one, Patty Broderick, who was very good at the game. Why is not the women in the game?
I can answer that from possibly one sport, and had a conversation with a volleyball coordinator. And obviously in volleyball, there's a lot of men and women doing that. And her perspective was that women, they'll do it when they're younger, but they're still the core of the family. So when husband's job takes off or they have kids, they tend to back off of that, and it's hard to keep them in it. Globally, I don't know the answer to that. I think everybody's trying to search and find the right answer and find some more balance in it. I was really shocked. I thought there would be more women responses in our survey, but yeah, I don't have the answer today.
Let's talk a little bit, as we have about 2 minutes here, let's talk about the veteran official who's been doing it for 30 plus years now, or retiring. I added up, my first Little League baseball game was April 12th, 1979. So I would have been doing it for 47 years. I got out of the game way before then. What do you talk about the veterans who are leaving the game? They can still be involved as a person that knows officials. Brenda, you can relate to that. And then Tim, as a fan, what do you say to those people who have been dedicated for 30 plus years doing their talent?
Well, from Brenda's perspective, I tell them thank you for all their service and their dedication to the youth of America and across the world, really. And I'm always surprised at how many of them, when they do retire, they still kind of stay involved, whether they're a mentor. I think one thing that we could use more of is mentors across the country, and try to keep them involved in that way, and observe games and go out and watch these younger kids trying to do this, and give them more tips. I think because when you started in 1979, there wasn't the social media, there wasn't everybody filming you all the time. So it's a tough gig right now. It's tough for these people to get out there, and I think these older retiring veterans, they could probably help be mentors.
And Tim, before you answer, thank goodness this wasn't social media or replay, or Brenda, I would have stayed in it only a year because people would run me out of the Little League Central on a rail. So thank goodness there wasn't any of that.
Yeah, right. I think from a fan perspective, I think back in the day, I really probably didn't think about, the officiating and how long they stayed in. I think having been around Brenda now in this world for 20 years or so, I think I have a lot more respect. I understand so much better how much work it is to not only learn the craft and be really good at it, but to stay in. And so I agree with Brenda. I would just say thank you for all of the work that all these officials have done over the years. And I really admire what they do. It takes a certain mindset. It takes, in today's world, it takes thick skin. So I really appreciate what they do.
The show is called Behind the Stripes. It airs on a podcast. You can catch it on IndianaSRN, also on officialhuman.com. If you want to contact Brenda, your email address is brenda@officialhuman.com. If you want to contact me, you can do it on Twitter @IndianaSRN or my email at coach@IndianaSRN.org. You guys both have about 30 seconds to wrap things up. Go, Tim. You're the fan. What do you think?
I hope people tune in. I hope they learn a lot about the officiating world. And I hope also they start to learn about what they can do to help influence young people to be, better sportsmen, show more sportsmanship. I think it'll help this industry a lot.
I agree with everything Tim said. We just need more ambassadors of the people behind the stripes.
Guys, I thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I love our friendship. I cannot wait till July or August comes when you're coming to Indianapolis and buying me a steak dinner. I'm looking forward to that. Debbie is looking forward to seeing both of you. You've been very kind over the last couple months, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we just can't wait for the thing to start.
Same here.
Same here. Thanks, Keith.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, you're going to hear from the CEO of IndianaSRN as he says thank you to you for allowing us to be in your breakfast table or lunch room over the last 10 weeks and of the last 12 years. So stay with us. A lot more coming your way on the Sports Zone on IndianaSRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
Hi, I'm Bill Goodrich, president of Horizon University. Are you interested in completing your college degree from a Christ-centered, biblically integrated, and fully accredited university? In associate and bachelor degree programs designed for students to excel in their professions as they win and disciple others for Christ in business and ministry. For a theologically sound, affordable, and accredited college institution, visit horizonuniversity.edu and start earning your degree. Excellent teaching today for the leaders of tomorrow.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. On the hotline now is Jerry Collins. He is our CEO of IndianaSRN. 10 weeks ago, we started this Sports Zone show. It ends today, and it's not a sad thing, but it's a good thing. But your thoughts of the 10 weeks that has transpired here with the Sports Zone?
Hey, Keith. Never in my wildest dreams when you proposed this idea to try to bring some relief to us all being shut in did I think that it would be nearly as successful as it was. But congratulations to you. This is all your idea. All I did was help produce it a little bit, but what a great way to stay in touch with all our fans and people who support us during the year and reaching out and making new friends.
Yeah, we have met a lot of new friends. I cannot believe how many people have wanted to jump on this thing. And you make a great point with our sponsorship as now June is approaching us. That is when we start getting our sponsors together and getting our schedules together. And it looks like a bright fall for IndianaSRN. And all we have to do is wait for it to open.
Well, it's some exciting news. I don't know if you want to break this now or not, but we are adding to our radio stations. We've added 5 more radio stations, and we've doubled our webcasting capabilities to 4 stations throughout central Indiana. So it's going to be a very busy preseason for you and I as we prepare the equipment, train the broadcasters, and all the technicians behind the scenes to make this happen.
What motivated you to get involved with a guy that you didn't even know for a while? What got you involved in it? And did you ever dream when you started this venture that it's taking on a life of its own?
Well, actually, my roots in broadcasting go back a little farther than probably what you know. My grandfather founded Wish TV 8. Many years ago. In fact, my mom came up with the call letters, WISH. But beyond that, and I didn't have anything to do with it except claim the name. But beyond that, I got some training when I was in the armed forces. When I was stuck in Thailand, I needed something to do because it was a little boring. And I wasn't a big drinker, didn't go out to the bars. So I got involved with the local Air Force radio and TV station down the street and developed a real interest in what they were doing there and fondly look back on those memories at Ramasan in Thailand.
Jerry Collins is our last guest of the Sports Zone. And there's a lot of other things that are in the works for IndianaSRN. If there's someone out there that might want to be interested in sponsorships or some talent out there that wants to be involved, I know they can contact us by my email at coach@indianasrn.org. What would be the benefit for the young broadcasters to jump on our network?
A new person wanting to break into the business typically might get a chance to broadcast once a week or once a month. If you want to see if this is something you might want to do on a career path or even as a hobby, we offer an opportunity for a broadcaster a sports announcer to get involved 2 or 3 times a week. And so the number of reps that you would get is going to advance you and your skill set so much further.
Jerry, in closing, we had listeners all the way around the world when we turned this thing on. Now that we offer webcasting, there's other opportunities for cameramen and producers and directors. So it's open to anyone. So we would encourage them, I would assume, to contact us at coach@indianasrn.org or info@indianasrn.org to see if this is something they would want to do.
I would encourage anybody who wants to take a look at this to go on our YouTube channel and see the quality that we can bring to Central Indiana fans and alumni, grandmas, grandpas who can't get to the games. Especially with this coronavirus out there, I have a feeling that fans in the stands is going to be a little limited because everybody is afraid. So this is a great opportunity for people to see what we do. Now, you mentioned some of the technology. we've got some friends. Rick Vanderweilen has just been a great support to us. Rick Vanderweilen has been a great friend to IndianaSRN. He has, through his many years of experience, developed an idea to take the $250,000 production truck that you see behind so many venues and reduce it to a very small footprint and not much expenditure of capital. So we're able to replicate this idea pretty easily, and with the grace of God, we've been successful.
We thank you very much for your time, Jerry. If there's sponsors out there as well, just contact us here at IndianaSRN at info@IndianaSRN or coach at IndianaSRN.org. Boss, thanks so much for letting me have some fun the last 10 weeks, and our season starts in July, and looking forward to it.
Hey, Keith, I've got just a couple questions for you before you go.
Okay.
Pizza or peanut butter and jelly?
Pizza.
Lima beans or butter beans?
Neither.
And IU or Purdue?
Of course, it's got to be the Boilermakers.
Now, I'll tell you that for the last 10 weeks, I've endured your fawning over Purdue. And I would just like to put in a little plug for the Cream and Crimson. We do have more banners hanging in our stadium than you do. So with that, I'll let you go.
Hey, the cool thing is you can see the whole entire court up at Mackey Arena.
That's true. There's nothing obstructing the fan view.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on the Sports Zone.
Thanks, Keith.